from Gaza City. They have arrived at the National Center of Forensic Medicine in Tel Aviv. The return is part of a U.S. brokered deal that saw a ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The deal saw the return of 20 surviving hostages held by Hamas so far and the release of more than 1,000 Palestinian prisoners by Israel. Israelis have gathered in front of the National Center of Forensic Medicine to pay their respects to the deceased hostages. Let's listen into what they have said.
I'm here with my son because we wanted to pay our last respect for the four hostages, the dead hostages that came back. This is a very, very sad day for us. We don't know who they are, but they are a part of us, a part of our people, a brother, a father, someone that we cared about and we wanted to see him.
The Israeli Defense Forces office has said that the identification process for the four hostages is still underway. While all living hostages were returned, pressure is growing on Hamas and the Israeli government over the remains of all the deceased hostages, which Hamas has not yet repatriated. Meanwhile, Palestinians are increasingly worried that a delay in Hamas's returning the bodies could bring uncertainty to the future of the ceasefire. Now, for this discussion, we're joined by Professor Vasilin Popovsky. He's a professor and vice dean at Jindal Global Law School, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Professor, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, this is very sensitive, even though the ceasefire has been reached, the phase one has been ongoing. What role do the remains of these deceased hostages play in the ongoing ceasefire?
Yeah, you are right. It's a bit unusual. Normally, in armed conflict, the prisoners of war exchanges are very usual, very normal. It happens all the time. But in this case, the tactics of Hamas is to keep some deceased bodies as to gain extra benefits from themselves. Somehow to survive, Hamas would like to have some leverage. And I think one demand they may have is to somehow to guarantee their own survival, their own lives by keeping some deceased body. We will see what they will say. But as I said, it's unusual. Logistically, it doesn't make any sense to keep dead bodies. They need to be kept in freezers for 2 and more years. And a lot of those were actually dead already on 7th of October. These were victims of 7th of October, and simply the bodies were taken into Gaza and being put in freezers for more than 2 years, simply as an additional pressure on Israel to, for example, to release more Palestinian prisoners, or for Hamas itself, somehow for their own survival. That's how I read that. We will see in the next hours and days how many of the deceased body will. The good news is that all the living hostages are back home, and that's a great news. That's something to celebrate. All the families are happy on that front, but those families that lost their boys and girls are still waiting for some of those bodies to be brought home.
And Professor, we also this morning we heard some shots were fired from Israeli sides, and around 6 people in Gaza were killed again. How does this U.S. broker deal between Israel and Hamas, which also includes the return of all the hostages and detainees, reflect the complexities of negotiating peace between Israel and Hamas?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's a complex issue. Ceasefire is only a preliminary measure, and the return of hostages and Palestinian prisoners back to Gaza and West Bank are also somehow first steps. These are only first steps. There will be a long process of negotiations here. There is no peace yet. There is only a ceasefire. And for the peace to materialize, there are a lot of factors. For example, the two-state solutions. Will Israel agree on a Palestinian state? We don't see any signals yet for that to happen. Will Arab countries, all of them, including Palestinians, agree on Israeli state? Again, we don't see much that happening. What will happen with the settlements? A big issue. That there are a lot of Israeli settlers in West Bank and possibly in Gaza too. Will Israel be leaving all the 100% of the territory of Gaza? Another question. So there will be a lot of question marks in the next weeks and months. So the peace might not be ever near. Some skeptics even predict a renewal of violence, and you mentioned some shots. It could be a renewed violence. We don't know yet. So the peace is not easy. Well, we can celebrate the hostages return, and families are happy, and let's give them those, 24, 48 hours to celebrate that. But then the next day, from tomorrow, we need really to sit and reasonably think what peace can be achieved, and the skeptical voices will go every day, and many people will say, this is okay, first step, but if nothing follows after that, the conflict will remain as it was before 7th of October and over the last decades. It's a long conflict that takes already 7 decades.
Yes, Professor Veselin Popowski, thank you for sharing that. Please stay with us as we come back to you.